In this video, I want to specifically look at adding images, graphic objects to your Google slide and looking at some of the tools that you have for manipulating and editing those objects. So we are going to come right up to this spot. This is your Insert Image tool. You could also insert images from the Insert menu. It would work exactly the same. We're just going to go here because it's the most convenient. And you can see you have a number of options from where you can grab images from. The thing that most people use will be either uploading from a photo or a graphic that they have on their computer, or they will be searching the web for something. I'm going to start with bringing one from my computer, but while I could click here and search through my computer to find it, I'm going to cancel because I can also just come right over here to my desktop. You'll see I have a picture of an apple here. I can just drag it into my slide and it will pop right in there. Once an image comes in, what can you do with it? Well, there are a number of ways you can edit it and tweak it. It comes in surrounded by this blue frame, and in each corner of the blue frame there's a square or handle. You can grab that, and if you squeeze it in, you can resize your image. When you pull from the corners, it resizes your image and maintains the proper ratio. If I go from the sides and try to resize something, I'm either going to get really fat apples or really skinny apples, and we don't want that. I'm going to undo, which is right up here in the upper left-hand corner, one of your best friends. Undo, and let's undo again. Now we're back to our normal size apple. So we're going to try to avoid resizing from the center of the sides. And we're going to work from the corners to keep our ratio appropriate. I can also move it around, just dragging, grabbing in the middle of the picture and moving it where I want. At the top here, you see this pokes out to a little circle. If I click on that circle, that lets me rotate the image so that if I need to tilt it a little bit, I can do that. There are other options that I have, and I want you to see that. That's going to come under the Arrange menu. Here I can also rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise. I can flip it vertically or horizontally. That seems less important with the apples, but perhaps more important if I was working with someone's face and it was over on the edge and I didn't want the face to look like it was looking off of the side. I want to flip that around and have it looking back towards the middle. That's a good way to do that. As I move it around, you'll see little red lines pop up on the screen. Those red lines are helping me to align it. If I want to make sure I'm centered from top to bottom, I can just slide until I see that red line. That tells me I'm centered on my slide. If I want to center it left to right, I can just come over until I get that line popping up there. That lets me know I'm centered left to right. And as you can see, if I go towards the middle, when I get both red lines, I'm centered perfectly on my slide. So that lets me move things around, center them, resize them. What else can I do with this? Well, let's get rid of this item and go for a different item. I'm going to bring in something from the web now. And we're going to search the web, and I'm going to search for a puppy. And I'm going to bring in this cute little guy right here. I'm going to bring him into my picture. I can resize him just the way we were doing before. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of extra grass and buildings around him, and I don't want all that taking up space on my slide, so I would like to get rid of that. So I can crop him. I can come up to the crop tool here on my toolbar, or I can just double click the image. Either way, you'll see I get a black frame around it. And if I grab one of those black handles, I can crop the image. I can begin to get rid of the things that I don't need, the things that I don't want, and save just the cute little puppy. When I get it the way I want, if I click outside of that, now I have my cropped image. If I decide I want to change that, I can always come back and double click. The rest of the image is there. It's just hidden now so that no one can see it. So now I can move my cute little puppy around and get him where I want. Maybe I want to put a little mask on this guy. Masking means hiding part of the image. And right next to the crop image is a little pull-down menu called Mask Image, and I can mask it by using a shape. And for this little guy, I'm going to mask him because I really want there to be a circle. And once the circle pops in, you can see it hides some of the surrounding area. And so now I'm really beginning to focus on just on the cute puppy and eliminating some of that other stuff. I'm going to undo a couple of times just so you can see the way the mask can work with other items. I could put a little heart around the puppy. Any object that I chose for a mask, I could use. Some of them won't work so well. Like if I choose this shape, that's an odd shape to put over a puppy. So some of the shapes on the shape menu really are not going to be suitable for masking an image. But the circles and the hearts and those kinds of things, those work really well. It even lets you just have a nice curved corner around your frame if that's what you need. So that's a way to kind of make your images look better, is the cropping and the masking and so forth. Final thing that I want you to do is to learn about layering your images. So I'm going to get rid of my puppy. I'm going to bring my apples back. I'm also going to bring in my oranges. Now I've got two different images. And if I start to overlap them, you can see that one is covering up the other because the oranges are in front of the apples. I can change that by pushing them in the order, pushing them to the back. You can always change what's in the front or in the back. You can stack multiple images by moving them forward and backward, not going all the way to the front or the back, but just taking one step forward or backward. So there can be multiple layers on your slide, and you can work with that if you need to. The other thing you could do when you have multiple images is if you select both of them, you can use this align tool to make sure they are aligned. The top of them can be aligned. More often, most people are aligning them so that they're centered on the page together. If I had one above the other, like that, I could select both. I can also align them, top to bottom so that they're aligned that way. The alignment menu helps you do that. The final thing you can do is, let's say I'm going to add a text box because I want to label my images. These are my oranges, and I want that label there so that we can identify them. But as I add more images and move things around, I need to keep adjusting my oranges, and then I have to go back and move my label with them. Once you've got two images that you want to stay together, select them both and group them. And now when I move my oranges, the label goes with them. So that's a nice way to keep things together. It gives you a few less things to click on as you're doing some of your final adjustments on the slide. All right, let's get rid of all of these things except for the apples. I'm going to keep the apples. And now I want to see if I can put those apples into a basket. I'm going to grab this basket and I'm going to move it in here. And it's a little big, so let's make it a little smaller, and I'm going to throw these apples in there. Okay, now it looks pretty good. But if I needed to add more apples, let's send these back to the back so that they're behind. But you can see they're starting to cover up the other apples because all of these apples are in a white square. So how do you get rid of that white square? Well, you can't really. So what you want to do is, let's get rid of these, and you want to search for images that are transparent. Doesn't mean the image itself is transparent, but it means the background is transparent. So now if we pull in a couple of apples, it looks like it's a big square with white, but there is no white. You can see that I can see through everything except for the apples. So if I push the apples backward on the page, and if we don't make them gigantic, I can get them into my basket. and I can need to bring them back to the front for a minute so I can select them. I can duplicate them, and now the apples don't cover up each other with the white. So it looks like I've got a bunch of apples here. Let's tilt those just a little bit to make it a little more artistic. Let's see. All right, there we go. Let's bump that down a little bit. Now let's bring our basket back to the front. Let's bring it all the way to the front. And now I have a basket full of apples. So you want to search for images that are transparent when you want to do this layering without having the white frame or the white space around them get in the way of the other items on your screen. So there are some tools for working with images inside Google Slides. Hopefully you'll have fun doing that, and hopefully that will help you create the images that you want for your learning activities.